Navin Lalu's streaming network, specialist in clean audio, multiple camera angle view and a photo slide for professional live streaming. Call Navin at 335-0205. Navin Lalu, bringing real-time events to you and yours. Navin Lalu's streaming network. Call him 335-0205. Also available fantastic drone footage. Navin's streaming network.
जय 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 कृष्ण हरे। तू चाही तो सब कुछ कर दे, विष को भी अमृत कर दे, पूरन कर दे सबकी शान। जो भी तेरा ध्यान धरे, जो भी तेरा ध्यान धरे। जय जय दुखियों को दुख दूर करे। जय 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 कृष्ण हरे। जय 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 कृष्ण हरे। कृष्ण भगवान की जय। सुख करता दुख हरता, पावन परमात्मा है प्रभु जी। प्रभु जी, प्रभु जी सुख का सागर है, सुख का सागर है, सुख का सागर है, सुख का सागर है प्रभु जी। प्रभु जी, प्रभु जी सुख का सागर है। तूफान जो कश्ती है, वो बीज बगर बे है, मौजी के बन में अब तो ईश्वर है, ईश्वर है, पर वेदों पार लगाता वो फूलन आत्मा है। सुख करता पावन परमात्मा है प्रभु जी। प्रभु जी, प्रभु जी सुख का सागर है। जीवन में एक उलझन है, बातों में ना बस जाना। जिस राह में राह मिले, उस राह में बस जाना। एक बार जो शरण में आता, वो फूलन मारता, दुख हरता, पावन परमात्मा है प्रभु जी। प्रभु जी, प्रभु जी सुख का सागर है, सुख का सागर है, सुख का सागर है, सुख का सागर है। आस करे दिन रे, आस करे दिन रे, नैना नीर भरे, बात निहारी घनश्याम, नैना नीर भरे, बात निहारी घनश्याम, नैना नीर भरे, आस करे दिन रे, नैना नीर भरे, बात निहारी घनश्याम, नैना नीर भरे, योग ध्यान में जितना मन की पीरही, पल पल जागे रैन जगे अविराम, नैना नीर भरे, आद निहारी घनश्याम, नैना नीर भरे, बाके के दिखाऊं जाके दर्द न अपना, किसी को दुखाऊं जाके दर्द में अपना, कोई नहीं है मेरा कृष्ण कन्हैया, कृष्ण कन्हैया, सुन ले पुकार आए आज तेरी द्वार लेके, आंसू में फूल मेरे सामने, मैंने प्रभु आज तक कुछ नहीं मांगा, आज तो दान दे दे अपना दयाता, बदले में चाहे मेरे जान भी ले ले, बचा ले सहारा दाता इस दुखिया के, बचा ले सहारा दाता इस दुखिया में, इस दुखिया में, सुन ले पुकार आए आज तेरी द्वार लेके, आंसुओं में फूल मेरे सांवरे, सुन ले पुकार, सुन ले पुकार, सुन ले पुकार, सुन ले पुकार, सुन ले पुकार। कृष्ण भगवान की जय। क्षमा करो मेरे भूल नाथ में हूँ चरणों की धूल, नाथ में हूँ चरणों की धूल, बस अब ये स्वीकार करो मेरे आंसुओं की भूल, मैं हूँ चरणों की धूल, मैं हूँ चरणों की धूल, क्षमा करो मेरे भूल नाथ में हूँ चरणों की धूल, अब ये स्वीकार करो मेरे आंसुओं की फूल, मैं हूँ चरणों की धूल, मैं हूँ चरणों की धूल। तुमने फिर दे अखियाँ सब जब अंधियाँ न लगे, रैन से पहले बेकारा अब दिन भी जाता लगे, अब दिन भी जाता लगे, अब दिन भी जाता लगे। क्षमा करो मेरे भूल नाते में हूँ चरणों की धूल, बस अब ये स्वीकार करो मेरे आंसुओं की फूल, मैं हूँ चरणों की धूल, मैं हूँ चरणों की धूल। तुम सबकी दुख जानो, तुम ही सबके पीर हरो, मैं भी तुम्हारी दासी हूँ, अब तुम ही कृपा करो, अब तुम ही करो, अब कृपा करो। क्षमा करो मेरे भूल नाते मैं हूँ चरणों की धूल, बस अब ये स्वीकार करो मेरे आंसुओं की भूल, मैं हूँ चरणों की धूल, मैं हूँ चरणों की धूल, मैं हूँ चरणों की धूल। कृष्ण भगवान की जय। सुख दुख दोनों रहते जिसमें जीवन है वो गाओ, कभी धूप कभी छाँव, कभी धूप कभी छाँव। ऊपर वाला पासा फेंके नीचे चलते दांव, कभी धूप कभी छाँव, कभी धूप कभी छाँव। सुख दुख दोनों रहते जिसमें जीवन है वो गाँव, कभी धूप कभी छाँव, कभी धूप कभी छाँव। भले भी दिन आते जगत में, बुरे भी दिन आते, करुए मीते फल कर्म ये, कभी सीधे कभी उल्टे पड़ते अजब समय के पाँव, कभी धूप कभी छाँव, कभी धूप कभी छाँव। सुख दुख दोनों रहते जिसमें जीवन, धूप कभी छाँव, कभी धूप कभी छाँव। क्या खुशियाँ क्या गम ये सब मिलते बारी बारी, मालिक के जान से के ना जग नदिया में बंदे अपने नाव, कभी धूप कभी छाँव, कभी दोनों रहते जिसमें जीवन है वो गाँव, कभी धूप कभी छाँव, कभी धूप कभी छाँव, कभी धूप कभी छाँव। बोलो श्री कृष्ण भगवान की जय। रोए कोई गाए, कैसा तेरा रे मालिक, कैसा तेरा संसार। कोई समझ नहीं पाए तेरा कारोबार, मालिक कैसा तेरा संसार। ओ कोई रोए कोई गाए, कैसा तेरा संसार, मालिक कैसा तेरा संसार। उजर जाए जब रैन बसेरा, पंछी सुध बुध कोई, दर्द किसी का सब मतलब में खोए। अंबर नीर बहाए, धरती करे पुकार, मालिक कैसा तेरा संसार। कोई रोए कोई गाए, कैसा तेरा संसार, मालिक कैसा तेरा संसार। इनके संग तूने रात बनाई, फूलों के संग काटे, जाने कहाँ किस जगह बैठ कर तू ये सुख दुख बातें। पच्चर जहाँ मुस्काए, रोई वही बहार, मालिक कैसा तेरा संसार। कोई रोए कोई गाए, कैसा तेरा मालिक कैसा तेरा संसार, मालिक कैसा तेरा संसार। कृष्ण भगवान की जय। तू माला टूट गई है, माला मोती बिखर गए। 2 दिन रहे कर साथ न जाने किधर कले। टूट गई है माला, टूट गई है माला, मोती बिखर गए। 2 दिन रहे कर साथ न जाने किधर गए। टूट गई है माला, मिलन की दुनिया चोर चले, आज वीरा में अपने मिलन की दुनिया छोड़ चले, आज वीराने अपने। कोई कोई नैनों में है उजरे उजरे सपने, सपने। याद की गतली लिए झुकाए नजर चले, दो दिन रहे कर साथ जाने किधर चले। टूट गई है माला, अब तो ये जग में जिएंगे आंसू पीते पीते। अब तो ये जग में जिएंगे आंसू पीते पीते। देखे इनको ऐसे बीते और किस पे ना बीते, और किसी पे न बीते। कोई मत पूछो इन्हीं के डगर चले, दो दिन रहे कर साथ न जाने किधर चले। टूट गई है माला, टूट गई है माला, टूट गई है माला। उमरिया थोर रही, उमरिया थोर रही, अपनी उमरिया थोर रही। कर ले हरी से प्रेम उमरिया थोर रही, उमरिया थोर रही, उमरिया थोर रही, उमरिया थोर रही। कर ले हरी से प्रेम उमरिया थोर रही। जन्म जन्म के पुण्य प्रताप से, जन्म जन्म से पुण्य प्रताप से मनुष्य जन्म भई। कर ले हरि से प्रेम, कर ले हरि से प्रेम उमरिया थोर रही। सत्संगत में मन नहीं भायो रामा भायो, गई जवानी बीत। ले हरि से प्रेम, कर ले हरि से प्रेम उमरिया थोर रही। नींद त्याग देखो होई है, नींद त्याग देखो। कर ले हरि से प्रेम, कर ले हरि से प्रेम उमरिया थोर रही। चार दिनों की यही जिंदगानी रामा, यही जिंदगानी सोई सोई बीत गई। कर ले हरि से प्रेम, कर ले हरि से प्रेम उमरिया थोड़ी रही। तुलसीदास प्रभु आशा चरण की, तुलसीदास प्रभु आशा चरण की, कृपा करो जगदीश हरि से प्रिय, कर ले हरि से प्रिय। उमरिया थोड़ी रही, उमरिया थोड़ी रही, उमरिया थोड़ी रही, उमरिया थोड़ी रही। कर ले हरि से प्रिय, उमरिया थोड़ी रही। कृष्ण भगवान की जय। राम नाम सत्य है। Now hand over to Baba.
Jai Sri Ramachandra ki Jai. So at this time, after beautiful bhajans, all praises to Bhagavan, we shall have the commencement of this samskar. This ceremony is called the Anteshti Samskar, the final rites. And of course, we have all come to bid farewell to a wonderful soul, she who has lived her life religiously and of course very successfully. So officiating will be yours truly. Panavishesh will be there. He will be officiating. I'll just interject off and on. So let us all please stand as we join together in... All right, come boys. Main person, face out. Let us all bow in prayer. Hare Om, Hare Om. Yam Brahma Varunenda Rutta Maruta Stulveristavera Veda Sangapada Kramopanishadera Gayanti Yang Samagam Dhyana Vastita Targatena Manasa Pashyanti Yang Yogino Yashyantam Navidu Sura Sura Vesmai Namam Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Shri Krishna Sharanam Mamam. Prem se bolo Krishna Bhagwan ki Jai. Please take your seats. Let me pass over to Panavishesh as he's in the ceremony.
Prem se bolo Shri Krishna Chandra Bhagavan ki Jai. My dear devotees, this morning we have all assembled to pay our final respects to a person that we have known for so many years in our lives, a person who would have made a tremendous impact in the lives of her family, close friends, our associates, all those who would have come in contact with Mrs. Gobin, as she's fondly called, Auntie Raju. I am sure today a lot of fond memories would have passed through your mind as you entered this home to see and of course to perform this final Anteshti Kadam of this great soul who once lived among us. This morning, as we are about to prepare, it is said when death will come, the first thing that must be done is the final rites for the disposal of the body, the Anteshti Kadam Sanskar. So this is what we are all here of this body, the Sharir farewell this morning. So this morning, indeed, is a very solemn morning, but it's a morning that we have all come together to celebrate a life worthy of living, a life of one of where we can take many lessons from her life and put into practice. So this morning, the Sanskar, the boys, the sons are here. So let me ask you to clasp your hands. Take flowers, boys. And we dedicate ourselves to the name of Bhagavan Shri Krishna. He is the Param Atma. From him we have come, and from him we all desire one day to return back to. That is the Lord, the Supreme Lord, that when we live this earthly life of ours, it is our hope and intention, through our good karma, that one day we will go back to him. So we bow our heads. We clear our minds of all the earthly things of this world. We enshrine that form of Bhagavan Krishna in our minds for Bhagavan's blessings in a very special way. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namaha. Shantakaram Bhujagashayanam Padmanabham Suresham Vishwadharam Gaganasadresham Evaganam Subhangam Lakshmi Kantam Kamalanayanam Yogi Viryanugamyam Vande Vishnu Bhavai Haravanti Devyai Strai Vedai Sangapakramo Panishudai Gayanti Yam Samaha Dhyana Vastattaragate Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino Yashyantam Naviru Sura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namo Namah Devaya Tasmai Namo Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya Prem se bolo Krishna Chandra Bhagavan ki jai. Offer the flowers by the head. Everything has to be done by the head, face and south. So wash hands now. Om apavitra pavitroha sarvastangtopya smare pundarikaksham savahe avyantar sashi. Om punarashmanjalam samarpyami. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namaha. Om Keshavaya Namaha. Om Madhavaya Namaha. Om Narayanaya Namaha. Om Vasudevaya Namaha. Krishnaya Namaha. Govindaya Namaha. Madhusudhanaya Namaha. And the main karta will wear the ring. Fred, right hand, this finger, this one. Main. Yeah, main finger. Yeah. Ring finger, index finger. Left hand, index finger. Ring finger, sorry. All the others, no. Krishnaya Namaha Vasudevaya Namaha Madhusudanaya Namaha Om Pavitristu Utpanam Yuchitrena Pavitrena Surya Rashmate Tasyate Pavitrapade Pavitraputasya Yatkama Purita Chakeyam. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namaha Krishnaya Namaha. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namaha. Om Tilakam cha Mahatpunyam Pavitram Pavanashanam Apadaharti Nityam Lalati Harichandanam. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namaha. Om Krishnaya Namaha. Om Vasudevaya Namaha. The Sankalpa this time, that declaration to perform the Anteshri Karam Sanskar on behalf of the departed soul, Auntie Rajo, Mrs. Gobin, as she's fondly known, by the sons who is considered. It is said that son who will stand in this time when that body is no longer lifeless, the hands and the feet, the mouth cannot do anything for themselves. But when that son will come and at this appointed moment will stand to perform this Anteshri Karam, Suputra indeed is a blessing. We take the Bhagavan's name in her name to undertake this worship of the Anteshri Karam Sanskar. We ask Bhagavan. Om water. Vishnu Vishnu Adya Shri Brahmano Dvite Pradashu Sedavara Kalpi Vaivaswat Manavante Ashtavinsatime Kali Yuge Kali Pratanchane Treda Deshme Amuka Grame Cunupia Gram Chetra Bhaudavatar Vartamani Yatanam Savatsare Amukaini दक्षिणाय नमः। ओम अमुक मासे अश्विन पक्ष, अमुक पक्ष कृष्ण पक्ष, अमुक तिथौ तृतीय तिथि, अमुक वासरे रविवासरे, अमुक नक्षत्रे अश्विन नक्षत्र, अमुक योग हर्षणा योग, अमुक करणे विनिजय करण। ओम अमुक राशि स्थिते सूर्य, अमुक राशि स्थिते शशांके च, शेषेषु ग्रहशे यथा यथा राशि स्नाने स्थितेषु सत्सु अमुक गोत्रस्य अमुक नाम स्वलनेम अमुक नाम अमुक प्रेतस्य तेखादेम as well, अमुक प्रेतस्य अंत्येष्टिकरम हम करिष्यः। एवरीबॉडी ओम श्री कृष्ण अर्पणम नमस्तु। ऑफर दर्शन ओम संकल्पम अंत्येष्टिकरम अहम करिष्य। नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नमः। And snana, bathing, stand right here and then offer like this. Om Ajamukha Gotasya Mukha Pretasya Tekha name. Om Shavanimitam Mritishan Snan Shavanimitam Snanam Maya Diyate Taupadishtitam. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namaha. Om Mritisnan Shavanimitam Maya Diyate Taupadishtitam. Om Ajamukha Gotasya Mukha Pretasya Mritishan Shavanimitam Gandham Maya Diyate Hatam Tekhanim. Om Amukha Pretasya Mritishan Shavanimitam Gandhamaya Diyate Taupadishtitam. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Pushpa Mala. Om Mala Krishnaya Namaha Vasudevaya Namaha Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namaha. Om Ajamukha Gotasya Mukha Pretasya Tekhanim again. Om Amukha Pretasya Mritisnan Shavanimitam Pushpam Maya Diyate Taupadishtitam. Krishnaya Namaha Vasudevaya Namo Namaha. Namo Bhagavate. Everybody, friend, everybody put if it half. Stay by the head. Krishnaya Namaha Vasudevaya Namaha. Ajamukha Gotasya Amukha Pretasya Tekhanim Puchani Mala Mritishan Shavanimitam Pushpam Maya Diyate Taupadishtitam. Om Mokam Karoti Vachalam Bhangulam Yete Yatkripatamaham Vande Paramanandamadhavam. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namah. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namah. Om Ajamukha Gotasya by the foot. Ajamukha Gotasya Om Ajamukha Gotasya Mukha Pretasya Mitrishan Shavanimitam Gandham Maya Diyate Taupadishtitam. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namaha. Krishnaya Namaha Vasudevaya Namaha. Devaki Nandanaya Cha Naf Ganda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah. Deepa. So Shashi, you stand up here. Om Krishnaya Namaha. Yam Dware Mahagore Andena Tamasavrate Tatra Lokanartaya Diputam Dipuyam Upadishtitam. Ajamukha Gotasya Mukha Pretasya Mritishan Shavanimitam दीपं मया दीयते तौ प्रतिष्ठितां हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नमः कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय Shashi, go by the right hand. The right hand. Right hand. Om, first finger. Yeah. So, friction like this. Go ahead. Om Madhyamukha Gotasya Mukha Pretasya Mitri Shanti Kanim Mitri Shan Shavanivitam Eshate Pindu Maya Diyate Ta Upatishtitam. Like this. Offer water. Till to Anjali Maya Diyate Ta Upatishtitam Madhyamukha Gotasya Mukha Pretasya Mitri Shan Shavanivitam Eshate Ta Pindu Maya Diyate Ta Upatishtitam. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namah Krishnaya Panchak. So at this time, you know, when there's death that occurs, or when there's a funeral service that is happening in the time of Panchak, it is said special rites must be done to mitigate any negative effects that may have on the family. So this morning we have the Panchak be done, rites to be done, and of course that will be done by Pitaji for the day that we ask. Fred, got them off there. Rest it down.
Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. Panchak is a 5-day period. Panch means 5, which is not too auspicious. So there is the rites to be done, which is the Panchak Vidhan. These are 5 days, and of course the funeral starts, and of course this is in Panchak. If a person dies in Panchak, and Panchak comes to an end, this Vidhan, this Vidhi must be done. So no matter what, so long as Panchak comes into play, it's not a bad time. But you know, there are certain rites to be performed to avoid any calamity or mishaps. So you have the Panchak Vidhan. Let's join together. Hare Om Baso Pavitamasi Shatadharang Baso Pavitamasi Shahasradharang Devasva Savita Punatu Baso Pavitena Shatadharena Supwakama Dukshaham Om Vasubhyaha Namaha Pretavahaya. So we sprinkle tail on the first dog. ॐ वरुणसुतं भानुमसे वरुणस्य स्कम्भसर्जनिष्ठो वरुणस्य ऋतसदन्यसे वरुणस्य ऋतसदनमसे वरुणस्य ऋतसदनमासीत ॐ वरुणाय नमः प्रेतशाखाय नमः ॐ उतनो भिरबन्ध्यः शेनोत्वज एकपात पृथिवेः समुद्रः विश्वे देवऋतावृतो वानस्तुतमन्तः कविशस्तु अवन्तु ॐ अज्याय कपादाय नमः प्रेतपाय नमः ॐ विश्वो नामसे स्वधेरिष्टेः पिता नमस्ते अस्तु ॐ नाम महे वंशिः निवर्तते मायुषेण बाध्याय प्रजनाय रायसोक्षाय सुप्रजास्वयाय सुवीर्याय ॐ अहिं बन्धुन्याय नमः प्रेतभूमिपाय नमः ॐ पुष्यं तव प्रतिव्यने नेरिमिकादचानं स्तोतारस्तः इह स्मसि पुष्णे नमः प्रेतहरते नमः ॐ इति Panchak विधानहं करिष्यामि. Now you place the dolls. First one above the head. Second one under the arms. Under the right arm. Next one under the left arm. Next one on the navel. Between the legs. Om iti Shri Panchak Vidam Preta Sargati Bhava Asargati Vinashata Sargati Prapyatah Shri Panchak Vidhanaham Karikshaham. Bole Krishna Bhagwan ki jai. Over to Panabhishesh.
प्रेम से बोलो श्री कृष्ण चंद्र भगवान की जय. My dear devotees, this morning we have all assembled, and before we begin, of course, the many speeches that will come, let us lift our voices as we dedicate ourselves to the name of Bhagwan Sri Ram. Indeed, Mrs. Gobin has spent her life, the better part of her life, dedicated to Bhagwan in many ways. She was a Krishna Bhakta, a Ram Bhakta. She did Bhagavad in this very Sapta 3 times a day in this very same yard. How blessed is that individual when they have that opportunity to perform such. So this morning we lift our voices as we pray. Bhagwan, this time has come when she must now leave this world, but we pray through the medium of your blessings, may she always be guided and protected under your watch. So together, Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namaha. Shri Ramachandra Kripalu Bhajumana Harana Bhava Bhaya Darunam Navakanjalochana Kanja Mukhakar Kanja Padpanjarunam. Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram. Kandarpa Aganita Amita Chav Navanila Niraj Sundaram Patapita Manahu Taruchi Suchi Naumi Janaka Sutabaram. Shri Ram, Shri Dasharat Nandanam Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram Mukta Kandal Tilak Char Udharu Anga Vibhushanam Ajanu Bhuja Charchapadhar Sangram Chitakar Dhusharam Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram Iti Padati Tulasi Shankar Shesham Muni Manga Ranjanam Mama Hidaya Kanja Nivasa Kuru Kamadhikal Dalaganjanam Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ramachandra Kripanu Bhajuman Harana Bhavadhai Darunam Navakanjalochan Kanjamukar Kanjapar Kanjaruram Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram. Prem se bolo Shri Krishna Chandra Bhagwan ki jai. And of course, to give the eulogy, of course, I call on my father, Father Devdat Diashi, who will speak to us now.
Principal of Vrindavan, Bihari Lal ki jai. Swami Vivekananda, he says, death is the separation of the soul from the body. Great sage says, death is the separation of the soul from the body, which means to say, we are two parts. We are the body and we are the soul. When death comes, there is the separation. The soul leaves the body. Not that the body leaves the soul leaves the body. So when the soul exits the body, there are different gateways through which the soul will exit. So when the soul leaves the body, the soul assumes a body, Ankush Paman Sharir, as big as the thumb. So the soul is in the body as big as the thumb. Garupuran says, Ankush Paman Sharir. We can see the body is here. Where is the soul? Garupuran says the soul is hovering 6 feet above the body. So the soul is right here, but we cannot see the soul. Just as the air we breathe, we cannot see the air. So what we are doing today, Bhagavan Krishna says that Jata Sahedova Mrityur Janma Mritasya. Who is born must die. If you look at your handout, you see sunrise and sunset. There must be a sunrise and there must be a sunset. But tonight when you look for the sun is already set. You cannot see the sun, but the sun is shining in another part of the world. That sun never goes out, that light never goes out. So it is the soul of our dear Didi, Raju. That soul did not die. It is existing in that body which is as big as the thumb. You see? So bodies die, souls do not die. All the religions teach the same thing. So souls are Ajo Nitya Shashtra Yang Purano Na Hanite Hanimane Sharira. The fire will burn the body, not the soul. Weapons will destroy the body, hurt the body, not the soul. The soul is avinashi, indestructible, imperishable. So, now that we understand that, the body, as Bhagavan Krishna says, Bhumir, Apo, Nalo, Vayu, Kham, Muni, Buddhi, Evacha. The body is made up of the Panchak Tattva, the 5 elements. Dirt is one of the elements. Bhumir is the earth itself. Mati bichawan, mati bioran, mati mein sab mil jayega ek din. That body returns to ashes, it becomes dirt once again. But you know, we have to prepare the body. The puja that is done is of a different nature. The mantras that are recited is of a different nature. Shavanamit for the body. Pushpam te mayadiyate topatishnam. For the body these are offered. You see, Mrs. Gobin lived an honorable life, an extremely honorable life. Being the guru of this home, right, I know her very well. She's always done her duty and did it a little more. So today, what are we going to give her? Of course, our best wishes, our prayers, and all of this. But there's what is called the pinda. The pinda is given to her. You see, in this home, there were so many prayers that she did. I was fortunate when Mrs. Gobin had to do her bhagavad. Of all the pundits in TNT, she selected me. She selected me to come and do the Sapta Bhagavad Yag for her, and that was my blessing for her. You see? So she showed me great love, great honor. And today, you know, everybody must feel a sense of sadness as she moves from this lok to the next lok. In the right hand, she's been given a pinda, right? So that, you know, no more offerings from her hand in this home anymore. Of course, the children will continue the legacy. So that pinda is, you know, in gratitude to all the devatas she worshipped in this home, you know, let me say, to say thanks to them for giving her the opportunity to serve them. So this is what has happened. And of course, death is inevitable. Death is inevitable. You see, one of the great men in the world, Rabindranath Tagore in Gitanjali, one of his prized writings, you know what this great man said? I know that the day will come. He says, I know, and we must know the day will come too. I know that the day will come when my sight of this earth will be lost. The sight of this world will be lost. And life will take its leave in silence. Have you ever seen a person die? You're looking at them and you know life just leaves the body in silence. So he says he knows that life will take its leave in silence. Drawing the last curtain over my eyes, he says. The curtain is drawn over the eyes. Rabindranath Tagore says, I have got my leave. Bid me farewell. I bow to you all and take my departure. Here I give back the keys of my door. This is what Mrs. Gobin has done. She has given up the keys to her door. I give up all claims to my house. What was once hers, she gave up all the claims. It is no more hers. She says, I ask only one kind last word of you. We were neighbors, we were friends, and we were relatives for a long time. I received more than I could give. Rabindranath Tagore says this, and Mrs. Gobin is saying the same thing. I received more than I could give. Now the day has dawned, and the lamp that lit my corner is out. The lamp is out. A summons has come, and I am going. Bid me farewell, my friends. You see, this is the story of every person. When the lamp in the corner will be out. So, no, we have a lot of speakers, so I don't want to carry on too long. So you see, she has been a wonderful person. She did her duty. When it comes to her dharma, she never gave up on her dharma. Even when she was not too well, she went to the mandir. She sat down there. She is the person, one of the persons who brought me to the Warrenville Shiva Mandir. And she has left me and she is gone. But we will continue the work that she started and she supported. So, my dear devotees, how much can be said? So much will be said. And again, let's all bow our heads in prayer as we give thanks to Bhagavan Krishna for a wonderful soul, gone but not forgotten. She's going to live in the hearts of those who loved her. Let's pray. Hare Om Anadi Nidhano Deva Shankar Chakra Gadadhara Akshaya Pundarikaksha Preta Moksha Pradobhavam Krishna Krishna Kripalutam Gatinam Gatirbhavam Sansaragnam Vagnanam Prasida Purushottamam Atasi Pushpa Sankasam Setavasam Samakshitam Ye Namasyanti Govinda Natesham Vidyate Bhayam Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Krishna Bhagwan ki Jai. The journey is just begun. Don't think of her as gone far away. Her journey has just begun. Life has many facets. This earth is only one. Just think of her as resting from the sorrows and the tears in a place of warmth and comfort where there are no days and years. Think of her as living in the hearts of those she touched. For nothing loved is ever lost, and she, Mrs. Gobin, was loved so much. She will live in the hearts of all those who fondly remember her. Principal Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki Jai. Over to Panu Vishesh.
Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki Jai. Bhare bhagya manushitana pava. Sura durlava sava grantana kava. Pahina jahi par loka sambhara. Bhagwan Ram beautifully stays in Ram Charitramanas. We were all given this human birth, of this sharir, of this human birth, the highest of all 8.4 million species. We are standing at the doors of sadhana, dharma, moksha, karadwara, the liberation. But somewhere in our past life we have made a few errors. And those errors, Bhagavan says, I will give you a chance to go back upon this world, correct these errors, and you will be able to free yourself from the cycle of birth and death. And so Bhagavan gave us this gift of this human body. And we came into this world. And coming into this world, we start to live in this world, and we start to live this karma that we brought from our last life. And we also started to make our karma for the next life to come through our actions. And sometimes, sadly to say, we come into this world and we get caught up with all the things, the maya of this world. And we forget our ultimate purpose for Bhagwan's gift of this God's given life to each and every one of us. Yes, we have a duty and a responsibility in this world to live in this world, to enjoy all the happiness in this world, to take care of our family and the home and all of those duties, yes. But greater and, of course, equal importance to all of this is the time allotted to us to spend in devotion to Bhagwan. What is Mrs. Gobin taking with her this morning? The home, the cars, the property, the money in the bank. Where's all of this today in her life as she leaves this world in death? Those things are materialistic things for us to enjoy in this world. But if we make the mistake to become slaves of these things, then the sadhana, the dharma, moksha, karatwara that Bhagwan Ram speaks about will never be our lot. Today we celebrate this life of Mrs. Gobin. But I am sure all of you will agree with me that Mrs. Gobin spent her life in dedication and service, not only to her family, but to the temple, the mandir, her religion. She was always involved in worship, in prayer. While some of us spend all our lifetime trying to build the material bank account of this world, neglecting the spiritual bank account, then when our time will come, sadly to say, Bhagwan doesn't want to know how much money you have in this world when you are leaving. But recorded next to you, in the near future, she will stand in front of the recording secretary of Yamraj, Chipta and Gupta, and they will begin to read to her all the good and all the bad that she have done in this world. And this is why I said at the beginning, we can all take a page from Mrs. Gobin's life and we are assured in a better place here and the hereafter. She has served well. She has done her duty to the best of her ability. And when it came to her prayers, the last time I saw Mrs. Gobin was in the backseat of Neela car at 12:30 in the morning, Janamashmi night. Despite her age and her sickness, she made it to Monday, 12 o'clock in the night to worship Bhagwan Krishna. In my yard, we stand and we stood there, we chatted for about 5 minutes, and then they left. But this is the kind of commitment. How many people would have spent till midnight, Janamashmi night, the Lord of the birth of Bhagwan Krishna? Despite her age and her illness, she made the time and the sacrifice. Isn't that the blessing of Bhagwan she will receive? Yes. And you know when that time will come, it is said, Itna tu karna Swami, jab pran tan se nikli, Govinda naam lekar, jab pran tan se nikli. Bhagwan, O Lord, grant me this much. When my soul is departing this body, Govinda naam lekar, jab pran tan se nikli. Let Govind, your name, be the last name I utter with my last breath. See? But when we live a good life, my dear devotees, a religious life, Lord will afford us this opportunity. Shri Ganga ji ka tat ho, Yamuna ka tat nikat ho, mere shamal nikat ho, jab pran tan se nikli. When my death is nearing, may the waters of Ganga and Yamuna be close to me. When this soul is about to leave this body, this pran will be leaving this life, this body. Shri Vrindavan ka tat ho, Vishnu charan ka jal ho, mukh mein tulsi dal ho, jab pran tan se nikli. In her life, she lived in a Vrindavan. She surrounded herself with Bhagwan Krishna. She didn't wait for this moment of death for Vrindavan to come to her. But she lived that life of Vrindavan. She will drink the Charanamrit and the Tulsi water of Bhagwan Krishna. So that if by chance when her death will come, she did not get that opportunity, she will have had that opportunity in her lifetime. And you know the last part of it. Jab kanta pran mein aave, koi roga na satave aave, Yamuna tras nikatave, jab pran san le nikli. Bhagwan, when my soul starts to leave this body, when my throat will become dry and parched, and there is no way to stop this life principle leaving this body of mine, Prabhu, when I am faced with this in my life, may I never see the face of your branch, but may I see your face. Govinda naam lekar, jab pran tan se nikle. Let me see your face, Prabhu. Never the face of Yam, but your face let me be able to see. Your name may I be able to chant as this last breath leaves me. If we live this life like Mrs. Gobin, my dear devotees, I am sure this will be the final moment when your time will come, just like hers. How blessed is that soul, the God's-like soul who has come into this world. She has made her impact. She has done her duty, done it well. And now it's time for all of us to bid her farewell. Prem se bolo Shri Krishna Bhagwan ki jai. At this time, let me call on Sheldon Ram Gulam, who will take us through this part of it.
Thank you very, very much, Pandit Sitaram, and good morning, everyone. We are very privileged to have today's proceedings held under the auspices of Pandit Devdat Vyas and his son Vishesh. Thank you very much so far. Pandit, I don't really like repetition, and I think you have covered almost everything in your very, very precise and calculated dispense here with your discourse. I remember as a little boy attending Ramayana at Uncle Johnny's place, right here by Auntie Raju, and the voice of Pandit Devdat Vyas always rings. Death ought to ground you. Death ought to bring a new sense of reality every time you experience it. A wise man thinks about death. It is very important. I don't want to be too long at all. Auntie Rajo lived quite simply and humbly. And what is life if you can't help someone? Help doesn't have to be physical. It doesn't have to be intangible. It can be intangible. You may be able to assist somebody emotionally, if not physically in some way. Without further ado, let me call on the person to render the eulogy for today. After that, we're just kindly asking all persons who are going to be speaking to keep it at about a 2-minute time slot, please, because we want to have a proper viewing for everybody. And then we have to make our way over to the banks of the cremation site. So without further ado, I call on beloved nephew, Dr. Robin Maraj, to render the eulogy this morning.
Thank you, Sheldon. Sitaram, good morning. Firstly, I would like to thank Neela for asking me to deliver my aunt's eulogy. I consider this a great honor. My Auntie Rajo was a unique personality and a person who will be felt deeply by a great number of persons across many countries. And while it is right to feel sad that she is no longer with us, we must not let those feelings of sorrow overwhelm the great joy that she brought to our lives. Hers is a life to be celebrated, as the pundits said. My Auntie Raju was a phenomenon, a true force of nature. She loved being the center of attention and had a social network that included hundreds of friends and family members. And at any point in time, she could provide you with an updated status report on anyone. And no, my friend, she did not use Facebook. She was the original Facebook. For those who knew my aunt well, they will know this to be the truth. Before I speak to you about my very special memories of my aunt, I'd like to provide you with a brief history of her life and the role she played in the lives of so many. She was born Ramdai Kalipasad Singh on April 29, 1942 in the village of Bhokal to my Nana and Nani, Chotana and Dasya Kalipasad Singh. She had 9 siblings, 3 sisters, Dolly, Sherry, and my mom, fondly referred to as Mello. Sadly, my auntie Dolly and Sherry are no longer with us. 6 brothers, Peter, also known as Beto, Ken, Vernon, Frank, Graham, and Louis. Sadly again, my uncles Peter and Vernon passed on a few years ago. She had a special love for her brothers, more akin to that of a mother than a sister. And despite present-day issues, she always saw herself as their protector and would move mountains during their youth and even after they became husbands and fathers to assist them. And in this, she was always fully supported by my Uncle Moller, her husband who passed 21 years ago and who I'll speak about a bit later. Growing up, my mother would often tell my sister and I stories of their life in Bamboo Village, where they had moved to from Bhokal. Their home was a happy one, with relatives visiting and staying for extended periods of time, sometimes for months. They would also visit relatives without informing them in advance. Can you imagine that? No cell phone to call and say, I'm coming. They would also, imagine that in far-off places they would visit, like Todd's Road and Blanchisseries. It seemed to us like an idyllic existence to a child. Her childhood was a happy one, and not once did I ever hear her complain about the many chores that were part of her daily life. As from young, my aunt was a hard worker. My aunt married my Uncle Moller in 1963 and initially moved to her family's home on Monroe Road before moving to their home, this home here. Theirs was a marriage for the history books. Of course, that's not to say there were no quarrels or disagreements. However, they were always a team. And not once in my many years of visiting this home did I ever encounter unhappiness. This home holds so many good memories for me. My aunt and uncle infused this home with so much joy and love that whatever your problems were, when you entered this special place, you felt the joy and love. And let me say that it mattered not your station in life, your wealth, religion, or race. In this home, everyone was treated as royalty. I truly loved and respected both these individuals. My Tanti Raju and my Uncle Molla, they were the most kind-hearted, generous, and charitable persons in both words and deeds. While many of you here would have first-hand experience of my aunt and uncle's amazing hospitality, and know that what I have stated is the absolute truth, I'm not sure how many of you know about the business and entrepreneurial side of my aunt and uncle. And yes, I keep referring to them both, though my Uncle Molla passed 21 years ago. I do this because whenever I think of my aunt, I also think of my uncle. One of my earliest memories is that my aunt and uncle in the dry goods business. At first they had a panel van, which many of you here may not know about, but it had no doors. You know, it wouldn't be sanctioned today in the country under OSHA regulation. Natural air conditioning. And later a Bedford truck with which they traveled all over the country selling to shops and did very well. This was hard work, and they supplemented their income by also planting and harvesting sugarcane. In order to further support my uncle, my aunt got a driver's license. The first woman in the family to obtain a driver's license. Later on, she got a heavy tea license. Truly amazing considering those times. She inspired every woman in our family to obtain their driver's license. She was a trailblazer. Needless to say, they did very well in both the dry goods and business and farming. And at some point decided to exit these businesses and become world travelers. My aunt loved to travel, and nothing would give her greater pleasure than sharing her travel experiences. She was a born storyteller and had an excellent memory that allowed her to recall with pinpoint accuracy every aspect of her travel. For those who knew my aunt well, you will know that she did not like being upstaged. So, if by chance you visited the same place or places as her, you would need to admit that she had the more authentic experience. This brought her immense joy. My mom would often say to her, "I can't win you." After a stint as a world traveler, she returned to Trinidad and in quick time my aunt and uncle opened a tire business right in this spot. Their entrepreneurial spirit, combined with the ability to work hard and honestly, made this business also a success. This would be their final business venture. In 1997, my aunt and uncle welcomed a daughter Neela into their home. She would bring great joy to their lives. Her mother could not ask for a better daughter, and likewise, her daughter could not ask for a better mother. Neela's marriage to Anil in 2009 and the birth of her children Nandana and Aditya in 2010 and 2017 made my aunt's cup run it over. She would regale us with stories about her grandchildren during her visits to my mom, and her entire face would light up in recounting their many adventures at school, home, and temple. She loved being a grandmother. However, before Neela came into her life, there were two other persons that brought her great joy. One of those persons was Anand, a relative of my Uncle Molla, who lived with them for a time, not as a relative, but as a son. He loved them as parents, and they loved him as a son. And I know they considered his son as their first grandchild, Ajay. The only other person, who played an incredibly important role in my aunt's life over 30 years is Dora. Dora was her rock. She was the wind beneath the wings of my aunt. And her unstinted support made it possible for my aunt to enjoy doing the things she loved, like going to temple and entertaining family and friends, even when my Uncle Molla became ill and required a great amount of care from my Tanti Rajo, who naturally transitioned into the role of nurse. My uncle was always surrounded by love. They both loved Dora as a daughter, and I know Dora loved them as parents. Dora, I would like to personally thank you for taking such good care of my aunt and uncle. You are family. One of the truly great joys of my aunt was attending temple and religious events, as the pundits mentioned. In fact, the last time I met her was at the bandara of my uncle, referred to as everyone as Bai, who was her cousin. She was in her full glory at this function, as numerous individuals came to greet her, and she was overjoyed. As you will recall, I said she liked to be the center of attention. At this event, and I don't know how many of you saw this movie called The Godfather, but I was reminded of a scene from this movie. And can you imagine it? My aunt is seated, and a constant stream of relatives and friends are making their way to her seat to meet and greet her. She was in heaven. Renewing relationships with family and friends energized her. On one of the days of the wake previous to the bandara for my uncle, she accompanied my mom and I, and promptly informed me during the drive that I was taking the wrong route. I said to her, "But aunt, this is what ways the GPS system suggested." She said, "Forget about that. Follow her guidance." And do you know she was right? She showed me a better route, shorter and with less potholes. Then I said to her, "Tanti, you better than Waze." She only accompanied us on one day, much to my disappointment. However, her main complaint was that my mom, her sister, would leave right after the religious aspect, whereas she liked to stay and chat. Information gathered during these events, or during events of this nature, were quickly shared. I dare say faster than WhatsApp. She was our resident expert on all religious matters and knew the detail of every ritual to the minutest details. And she was always ready to advise devotees and pundits on said details, which, as you can expect, was not always appreciated. However, she simply could not sit still and allow a ritual to be done in an imprecise manner. However, whatever she did without malice, and would criticize someone today and the next heap praises on them. So pundits, I hope you all reviewed all the rituals precisely last night, because she is 6 feet above, watching carefully. Tanti Raju did not like to spend much time away from her grandchildren. However, every so often, she would spend some time with my mom. And I would take them both to Pennywise, where both sisters had great fun shopping. I too enjoyed these outings, as seeing both together reminded me of the many beach times we had at Maracas. Going to the beach with my aunt and uncle and other family members was a pure treat. Their car trunk was always filled with the tastiest of food, drinks, and baked goods. I remember the saddest part of these days was the ending. My sister and I simply never wanted these days to end. Many an Old Year's night was spent in this home with my aunt and uncle, and many a Boxing Day was spent with them at our home. We really had the best of times. On that note, I would like to thank the entire Gobin family for their hospitality, as I had great times in their company as well, together with my aunt and uncle. Uncle Dave, Auntie Dudu, Uncle Johnny, Uncle Nam, Auntie Pony, many of whom are no longer with us. These persons were closest relatives on my Uncle Mola's side, and she loved them all. Before I close, I would like to convey on behalf of the family special thanks to Dr. Shashi Gobin, her nephew, for the kind and loving care he took of my aunt over these last years. He was there with her at the end and ensured that when she passed on, she was surrounded by family. I would also like to say that some of the happiest moments of her life were spent when on vacation with her relatives, especially her siblings, with my Uncle Frank and his family in New York, with my Uncle Ken in Texas, and later on with Samantha, her niece, with my Uncle Louis in Hawaii. She would return from these trips like a battery fully charged, and she would recount to us every single moment of each of those trips. We felt as if we were there. So I want to thank them all for being part of her beautiful life. Ladies and gentlemen, my Tanti Raju lived a full life. She loved and was loved. Hers is a life to be admired and celebrated. Both my uncle and aunt touched my life and will forever live on in my memory, as I'm sure they will in yours. She was Google, Facebook, WhatsApp, Waze, and even ChatGPT, all wrapped up in one loving package. And as I said in the beginning, she was a phenomenon. She truly made a dent in the universe. Gone, as the pundit said, but never to be forgotten. I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very, very much, Robin, and it brought back a lot of memories to me as well. Auntie Raju always tried to encourage children in particular to have a good time have a good time, and anybody for that matter always felt very, very comfortable and welcomed, whether at the home or where her presence was. At this point in time, we'd like to ask Pandit Rupesh Shukla to disperse his blessings before we continue with some more speeches.
Bolo Sri Krishna Bhagwan ki jai. Vyasji. How I know Auntie is when, Anil and my cousin, he joined his family, and then by visiting here, and my brother come here to do puja, and with Neela, Neela was a very great support for my father in his funeral. I always have that inside me. Every time I visit here, she'll ask me, she said, Pandit, when you coming to break the night here? And that is the time I didn't reach here to break the night. She said, Neela never cooks, so she go cook a roti for me. So, I didn't reach here in time, but today I am here into the funeral to, express that this was a great woman. And as, the pundits and them maybe say all these, but at the time of death, when you think about me, you come straight to me. And as Shashi was telling me at that night, it was only mantra was in her ears, and she just revived back herself, and then she went on to her look. So seeing that Sri Krishna Bhagwan, he blessed her. We always say, in times, in funeral, we always tell people, it have the bhajan, you always say, Aaye bhi akela, jaye bhi akela, do din hai zindagi hai, do din ka mela. He said, we come in this world alone, we'll go alone. We're just in this little mela, just for a little time. Just as you take your bag and you go to Tobago and you come back to Trinidad in your mela, so too we just in this little mela until we go back to that Bhagwan. So he said, live life happy. He said, forget people and everything. Long time I used to always give people this little kahani. I always tell them, when I was small, I have my friends, they used to say, boy, Pandit, how only 1,000 I got? I say, no, not 1,000, we are 33.3 million. He said, oh, yeah, 33.3 million God. I say, Bhagwan Sri Vishnu is one. He takes many forms in this earth. And he said, the name that I leave is more important. Take that name. All I know about Ram and Krishna, I don't know about the rest. So this is why we as Hindu people, we don't condemn nobody. We don't condemn nobody under religion. How people choose to pray, you leave them. You understand? We as Pandit just teach people, what is life? Live life happy. Make someone happy. Lord Krishna say, a folded hand. When you pray to me, I will bless you. But open hand is good. When somebody's sick, you help them. When somebody poor, you give them something to eat. You help children in need. And he said, that is the blessing. We could play, we're doing 100 yag, 100 bhagwat, and you don't make somebody smile. What is the sense? He said, mother and father. Your mother, your father is the earthly God and your guru. Anytime you can't change you can't treat any one of them good, you can't come to me. We can play with changing religion, running with Lord Ram born, Lord Krishna born. And you don't treat these three people good. You're wasting time in the earth. So you must make sure that that mother, and I know that, every time I came here, she always in this happy mood. And, nothing can make her sad. And seeing that, the life that Neela and Anil here, when we come, sometimes we wake out late in the night and she could just say, Pandit, let me go on a little more. I say, but I'm feeling sleepy. She said, no, we'll go on a little more. And so we used to wake. And, she was the little bit that I know her, really a sweet person, I have to say in my mind. So as we have other speakers, we don't want to take up too much time. Jai Krishna Hare, Sri Krishna Hare, Dukhiyo ke dukh dur Hare. Jai 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 Krishna Hare, Jai Krishna Hare, Sri Krishna Hare, Dukhiyo ke dukh dur Hare. Jai 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 Krishna Hare. जब चारों तरफ अंधियारा हो, आशा का दूर किनारा हो। जब चारों तरफ अंधियारा हो, आशा का दूर किनारा हो। और कोई न केवर हारा हो, फिर तू ही मेरा प्यार करे। जय 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 कृष्ण हरे, जय कृष्ण हरे, श्री कृष्ण हरे। दुखियों के दुख दूर हरे, जय 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 कृष्ण हरे। तू चाहे तो सब कुछ कर दे, विष को भी अमृत कर दे। तू चाहे तो सब कुछ कर दे, विष को भी अमृत कर दे। पूर्ण कर दे सबकी आशा, पूर्ण कर दे सबकी आशा। जो भी तेरा ध्यान रे, जो भी तेरा ध्यान रे। जय 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 कृष्ण हरे, जय कृष्ण हरे, श्री कृष्ण हरे। दुखियों के दुख दूर हरे, जय 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 कृष्ण हरे। बोलो श्री कृष्ण भगवान की जय। राम नाम सत्य है।
Thank you very much, Pandit Shukla. Should you ever raise your hand, it should be really to help someone. Should you ever use your tongue, it should be to speak positively or to uplift. If it doesn't do that, then it's better you just be quiet. So much blessings, blessings overload here today. To continue in the expression of love and blessings to someone who fulfilled his role as a son very aptly, we call on Anand to say a few words.
Sita, for those who don't know me, I am actually Auntie Rajo's nephew, her husband, first cousin's son. I came to live at this home when I was about 20 to 21 years old. I knew her long before that when I was going to elementary school, high school. We used to meet at family functions. She asked me, why don't you come and spend some holidays here? It's only she and my uncle living here. So I did that. I came on holidays. Then she said, after going and coming, she said, why don't you stay here, live here? Because we alone, and you know, Neela was nowhere around yet. Neela was, I don't even think she was born yet. Right. So I did that. I moved in here, and what she taught me, you could hear from all the other people who spoke here, what she did with people's lives. She was a live wire in this family. Any function, be it wedding, prayers, beach line, if she wasn't there, nothing was going good. She kept everything going. And if she didn't go to a function, it dropped. What did I say? She had something about her. And you could imagine what me and Neela learned from her over all these years. We learned great, great family values. And she loved family. She loved family, she loved neighbors, she loved the community. Ask any, when someone dies, everybody talks only the good about them. But this person, it only have good to talk. And after the funeral, they say, you know, they forgot to say, she did this and did that bad. You wouldn't hear that after this funeral. She lived a full, complete, and honorable life. She and my uncle, when my uncle passed away, she turned like almost 100% religious. I knew her since her young days. Pandit might know this, but when I first came here, she and my uncle used to take me to carnival, calypso tent and all these things, carnival fetes. That part of her life, she did all that. And she taught me a lot about life, teach me about business. Whatever values I have is because of her. I also have one regret though. All these years, I have been calling her Tanti. But with what she gave me, I shouldn't be calling her Tanti. It should either be Ma, Mamta, or whatever. And I'm sorry I didn't do that from earlier. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anand. Only good. Only good, and that's what it should be. And let us try to normalize after today. There are many family members we may not have seen for quite a long time. Let us normalize picking up the phone and calling. Let us normalize asking if you're okay. And when you do ask somebody if they are okay, be ready, please, to accept the response that they give you. And if that person is not in a good position somewhere, somehow, see how best you can render some assistance. Really and truly. That's why people don't reach out to people anymore. So let's be that sort of a comforting factor as Auntie Rajo was. I don't want to be too long in between speakers. So at this point in time, we're just reminding speakers to keep it very brief because we'd like to have the viewing quite shortly. Maybe a minute or two if so much. He's flown in. I saw him it's been just like yesterday for Auntie Pony's funeral. And when I heard of Auntie Rajo's passing, it is alleged that souls planned their meeting. And I thought that maybe she has to accompany Auntie Pony. So there may very well be some truth to that. Let me call on Richard, who was flown in on yet another occasion for this funeral. Richard Prasad, beloved nephew. I do believe your brother is here as well. And I had asked that he accompanies you, and he's coming. He's coming, so Richard, it's all yours.
Jai Shri Krishna, devotees. Good afternoon, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. There's so much to be said, but in the 40 plus years of my relationship with my dear aunt and dear uncle has been nothing short than amazing. It started from Christmas holidays for them coming up to New York, and in the time that we grew up, there was a very limited amount of family members that would come to the US. So as young kids, you grow up and you're excited, wow, they're coming. Treats, good times. And then the summer comes around and we come to Trinidad. And in that time, a lot's done. And as I said, about less than 2 months ago, the family members, or my family members in Trinidad has grown and given a lot of traditional values that have made me the person and my brother the person that we are today. And we encourage that and we kind of support that. And spending time with Auntie Rajo has been nothing short than amazing with my Uncle Bear, as I would call him. And in the last 4 to 5 years she kind of fulfilled the spot as a mother. Losing our parents, Auntie Rajo has stood there to guide me and lead me. She spent 2 months with me with my mother passing and my father passing, teaching me things that as my mother, as my spiritual leader, had passed, left me with no one to guide me. And she stood there with me, showing me and leading me and speaking with me. As I recently told someone, our family members in Trinidad may be thousands of miles away, but in my heart and mind, they never are. I always felt they were up the road. Because we get on the phone, we speak, or even if we bounce up a year later or 2 years later, it's like we never skipped a beat. And that is what Auntie Rajo always kind of encouraged and put in, and that was the conversations we would have. When I speak to her, it was nothing short than that. Recently, I got married, and she wanted to be there for me. She told me I can't come. I told her that, and up to her passing taught me a very big life lesson. I told her I will come and I will spend some time with you before my wedding, as my fellow cousins who have done. They would come and meet their adults and the elders before they get married. Unfortunately, time was not on my side. I had many things happening. I did not make it before my wedding. I spoke to her And I said, I'll be there. Unfortunately, we had a passing in our family of another dear aunt. Again, I just checked it, August 7th, I think I was here. And I sat with her and I had our last breakfast together that morning. And that was the most precious thing that I left with her. We sat that morning and we talked, as we spoke every morning when I came to this house. If I'm in Trinidad for 2 days, if I'm in Trinidad for 3 days, in the last couple of years I've been in Trinidad 2-3 days, at least every year, I have to come to this house. And me and her have to sit and we have to speak. And that morning, I sat and I looked at my calendar. I said, Auntie Rajo, I'm going to come back. And I looked at my calendar with her and I said, okay, we got Ganeshu stuff next week. I have to be in Georgia. We have Pitripak, and then I have Navratri. When I finish Navratri, Auntie Rajo, I'll be back here and I'll spend 1 week with you. That was supposed to be, I was supposed to fly here on October 26th. Well, of course, the Lord had something else planned, and up until she closed her eyes, she taught me, my fellow family members and friends, that time is not on our side. We don't have enough time. So what we could do yesterday, let's do it yesterday. Anything else? Ram Nam Satya.
Good morning, everyone. Sitaram. So everybody knows me as Rich's brother, but I'm Kevin. So many years ago, a sports icon in New York passed away. And, you know, I follow sports a lot. And when he passed, a lot of people started talking about his stories of the good he's done. And, you know, they asked the question, well, why no one knew or he hadn't told anybody all this good that he did for people. And it was said that if you're a truly good person and you do good deeds, you should not be the one telling the story. The people should be the one telling the story. As Rich said, from a baby, we know Auntie Rajo. And she was truly a good person to all of us. I met Christine, you know, talked to her on the phone in the past, but this is the first time since she and her son got married that I met her, and the stuff that she speaks of, everybody that was here at the wake, she was truly an amazing person. Auntie Rajo, you will be missed. We love you.
Nothing but heartfelt expressions here today. Thank you very much to Richard and Kevin who flew in for this funeral of Auntie Rajo. Let me call on a loving niece to say a few words and express her feelings. Let's call on Vashti, who has come in for this funeral as well. We are so very privileged, and I do believe she's going to be joined by her sisters. Thank you.
Sitaram, Namaste, Jai Shri Krishna. We're all gathered here today to bid farewell and goodbye to a beautiful gem that lived among us. Everybody called her Tanti Rajo. We called her Rajo Tanti. Rajo Tanti lived an extraordinary life, one filled with prem, bhakti, compassion, generosity, Shama, and we can go on and on. My sisters and I grew up with her. We shared many fun memories. Even though we migrated to the US, she would come and celebrate milestones with us. My wedding, the birth of my 2 daughters, Christmas, my birthday, we went on a birthday cruise. Neela, remember that? And so many more events, including some serious shopping. Robin, if you think you saw her shop in Pennywise, you didn't see her shop in America. But Vedanta teaches us to enjoy everything in this world, but don't get attached to anything. That's what she taught us. As her jiva journeys its way to merge with Paramatma, she left behind a legacy. Mahatma Gandhi said, "Life is too short to learn everything on your own. Some you learn from others." Raju Tanti is the type of people he was referring to. Just bear with me. So to conclude, what's our takeaway from the life she lived? She taught me Shama, the art of forgiveness. Everyone today can relate to how forgiving she was. Rajatanti, we love you, and we shall meet again. I hope that Bhagwan Sri Krishna give me the buddhi to know when I meet you again. Also, may Bhagwan Sri Krishna grant you moksha. To Neela and Dora, she taught both of you to be strong and take care of business. So let her legacy live on. Ram Nam Satya Hai. Ram Nam Satya Hai. Ram Nam Satya Hai. Thank you all.
Thank you very much to Vashti and all sisters. We are pressed for time at this moment, so I am told that Timothy Charles, Timmy, is going to speak now. And Timothy, or Timmy as we all know him as, lives just across the road, and he was somewhat of an adopted son as well. And I'm seeing his wife making her way to the fore. So let's hear from Timmy, because we are getting set to wrap with a brief viewing.
Namaskar, everybody. Her legacy was loving, caring, and sharing. When Mrs. Ramdai Gobin got married and came to this village, the older people called her, Dullahin, while others called her Bauji and Tanti. But later, everyone referred to her as Auntie Raju. A generous and kind and loving person she became. My second mother for over 60 years of my life. She worked hard to build her legacy. I remember as a child, she took us, my other siblings, my brothers, sisters, to the drive-in cinema. Could you all remember the Kedona drive-in, the Highlight drive-in, the same Bedford van Robin spoke about? She used to load that, make pulori, aloo pies and things like these things, carry a drink, and carry all the children in the village. This was the things Auntie Raju used to do. She also took us to the beach. And one thing especially I remembered, she always took me and Anand to Ramain. You know, to do what? To look for a good girl to marry. She always do that. She say, all you have to marry good girls. And that was her way. That's the love, because she wants to see you prosper in life. Both my parents worked late on evenings. My mother worked at Carol Limited, and my father used to go and help her in the evening. And Tanti would take care of us after school, those days in elementary school. And always she made sure that we ate what she cooked. She even gave us the nicknames. My sister, who is crying right now in Canada, Rita, she gave us these nicknames. My sister Rita was lovingly called Christine because she went to some, Tanti went to some Indian movie, and the girl named Christine. and she started calling Rita Christine. Dan, my other brother, she usually called him Chimpilonko because his hair was short and he looked like a Chinese. My pet name was Timmy, and my other brother was Sammy. My other sisters and brother, they were young in front of her, born in front of her, in fact. And, well, they spent a lot of time with her also. She impacted the lives of many of the children in this village. She loved them all. Some of the names like Chandra, Dulari, Jeremiah, Joycey, Kuli, Jung, all these children who live in the surroundings, all these people, all these children, she took care of. As an adult, when I started working, whenever I got paid, she will tell me, son, bait, listen, always take out money if you have to save $5, all right? And always buy something. If you buy a alupa, you buy a doubles, put it in your stomach and say, thank to Bhagwan for your blessings. That's what my tante used to tell me. She always gave generous donations to the village. We had fundraisers, things like bazaars. We had some of the biggest Diwali celebrations, even the bazaars in Warrenville. And more recent, we had our Indian Arrival Day celebrations conducted right here at this home. The day I got married, as my wife and I, my Dharam Patni, got home, we came over to get her blessings, and uncles also. And since then, we get her blessings whenever we see her, especially on Diwali morning. We will all miss her dearly, but she has left an impression with us that will give us all the courage, the strength to go on and continue to make her proud and continue her legacy. Forever in our hearts. Love you, Tanti. Namaskar.
Thank you very, very much, Timmy. Auntie Rajo loved to laugh. All I have to do, if ever I call, I said, Auntie Rajo, how are you doing? What is the matter? She would go, oh, fun. I would have, now when you reach a certain point in life, you look back and you can see that you picked up certain things that you use. And when I used to be on radio, I would be doing these different voices, and she would have been encouraging me as a little fella here, looking at Steve Urkel and other shows and stuff, imitating and impersonating, and she always encouraged that. So all I have to say is, Auntie Rajo, how are you doing? And she would laugh hysterically. Simple things. After today again, bear something in mind. What do we take away quite quickly? Is that the simple moments are some of the most valuable. The simplest of moments are the most valuable. That's what we should be taking away. At this point, let me quickly ask Pandit Vishesh. Invite him to the microphone, and you are going to be guided accordingly thereafter.
Prem se bolo Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. Much has been said. Much more can be said about a great soul who once walked among us. But at this time being of essence, let me invite you as we close. At this time, let us all clasp our hands, bow our heads. As we utter this final prayer, we ask Bhagavan Krishna, in the name of His, we give this unto him on behalf of the departed Mrs. Raju. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namaha Govinda Damodar Madhaveti Gopal Meri Yah Pratna Hai श्रीनाथ बाबा यही दीनती है, गुरु न मैं नाम को तुम्हारो, गोविंद दामो धर्माधवेति, ये कृष्ण यादव न सकेति, देहांत काले तुम सामने हो, बंसी बजाता मन को लुटावा, यही नाथ जाकर यही दीनती हो, गोविंद मेरी यह प्रार्थना है, माता यशोदा तुमको भुलावा, आओ जनार्मोहन की ले लाओ, वाणी तुम्हारी भक्त पुकारी, गोविंद दामो धर्माधवेति, गोविंद दामो धर्माधवेति, ये कृष्ण यादव न सकेति, नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव, त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव, त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव, त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम। प्रेम से बोलो श्री कृष्ण भगवान की। राम नाम सत्य है। So at this time, let me invite the immediate family to come and to make their offerings of flowers. After which, then the rest of you guys can come. Can we make a line like here? So we make the rounds and then we go back to our seats. Time is of the essence, so we're looking to do this in a short space of time. So I invite you, the immediate family, please come first, followed by the rest of us. While this is being done, of course, Uncle Raju and Auntie Amira is here to render some beautiful bhajan for us. So I pass over to you.
बनवारी रे जिनका सहारा तेरा नाम रे, मुझे दुनिया वालों से क्या काम रे। बनवारी रे जिनका सहारा तेरा नाम रे, मुझे दुनिया वालों से क्या काम रे। Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare